Good morning, students. I hope you must have completed your homework. Show some enthusiasm towards your studies, and whatever assignment is given to you or whatever homework is allotted to you, do it every day and learn the question answers. Today, let's move towards our second book, supplementary book, Vistas. Vistas, and we are going to start the first chapter, the third level by Jack Finney. The third level by Jack Finney. A little bit complicated story. Listen to it carefully and then go through the story yourself. The story begins with the mention of a third level at the Grand Central Station, which has only two levels in reality. The protagonist means the main character himself is aware that even the president of New York Central and the New York, New Haven and Hartford railroads would express great confidence in the existence of only two levels of the stations, but he himself has been to the third level. Considering the entire scenario, Charlie, the main character, had a word with his psychiatrist friend whose name is Sam, and he explained that Charlie was experiencing a waking dream wish fulfillment. Underline this line. Waking dream wish fulfillment, or in other words, he asked him that he is in hallucination, in an illusion. According to the psychiatrist, Charlie was unhappy, and upon explaining further, it became clear that it is the burden of all the modern problems that is pushing him to experience the apparent perception of something not present. He tends to escape the reality. He is running away from reality. Charlie agreed with what his psychiatric friend had to say, but he still found it a bit odd to have been to the third level of the Grand Central Station. Charlie begins to believe in the possibility that he has been experiencing all this to escape the harsh realities of the modern world. His friends agreed to it as well. Even his stamp collecting is a sort of asylum, a sort of refuge. He resorts to it in order to feel protected. On the other hand, he starts thinking otherwise also. His grandfather started his stamp collection, but in those days they had not seen the consequences of war, and there was total peace, harmony and security. His grandfather must have not been insecure. The collection, moreover, was amazing, with blocks of 4 of practically every US issue. Even President Roosevelt collected stamps, and he was the emperor of the country. How he could be in tension? He starts explaining what exactly happened and begins with how he chose to take the subway to his apartment. Subway means local train, and instead of the usual bus after a late night shift. He did this in order to save time. He describes himself as an ordinary guy, as an ordinary man of 31 years, dressed in a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. It was so ordinary that he could see other similar men at the station. He explains how he was in his normal state of mind and not wanting to escape from anywhere. All he wanted was to be with his wife Louisa at that hour, nothing more than that. He still does not understand why this happened with him. Charlie comes to the part of the incident where he entered the Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and took the stairs to the first level, where one boarded trains like the 20th century as we board today. Then he went down another floor to reach the second level from where the suburban trains leave. From there, he entered an arched doorway and got lost. It was nothing unusual for him because even if he had come to that station 1,000 times, there were occasions he bumped into new corridors, new doorways. Once he entered the wrong lobby and reached Roosevelt Hotel, and another time in an office building which was 3 blocks away where he was not going. He wondered that Grand Central was expanding at a very fast rate, just like a tree, and with its roots, it is spreading day by day. It is no big deal that they even have a secret tunnel under the city to the Times Square or maybe the Central Park. He feels it might be because Grand Central is a place of exit for innumerable people. He also managed to escape reality because of the same reason, although he never shared it with his psychiatrist friend anymore. The unusual corridor he had entered into began turning left and slanting downward, which he felt odd, very strange, but even then he kept on walking. There was no one except him. No soul was there, and the voice of his feet echoed. He could listen his own voice. He finally heard the sound of people talking from a distance. Then he took a left and walked down the stairs again, only to reach the 3rd level of Grand Central. He thought he had somehow made his way back to the 2nd level, but as he noticed carefully, the place was smaller. There were fewer ticket windows and train gates, and the inquiry booth in the center was made of wood and it was old looking. The man in the booth was also different, and the station was dim lit because there were open flame gas lights. Charlie could see brass pitons, dustbins everywhere when suddenly a look of light caught his eye, and he saw a man. What he was doing? He was pulling his gold watch from the vest. He was dressed in an old-fashioned style. Suddenly, he noticed that everyone was dressed like the 19th century. It was basically the time before deadly wars. So many beards and fancy sideburns he noticed there. He had never seen before them. He even saw a very small courier, a locomotive, a steam engine, which made him sure about which time he was in. To clear his suspicion, his doubt, he went over to the newspaper boy who was selling a newspaper, and its name was The Word, which was discontinued years ago. There were some headlines about the then president Cleveland. The date on the front page was also June 11, 1894, and he was now sure he had gone backwards. Immediately, he went to the ticket window to get the tickets for Galesburg, Illinois. It is the name of a city. He wanted to go there along with his wife. It was a wonderful town with a lot of greenery. He was well aware that from here one could buy tickets that would take them anywhere in the US. He describes how things were in 1894. In 1890s, he is talking about before the 2 world wars took place. Evenings were twice as long as they are now, and men and women living in peace and serenity. As the clerk calculated the fare, he looked at Charlie's fancy hat band. Charlie just had enough for one-sided journey, And just as he took out money, the clerk informed that this is not the acceptable legal tender, and by any chance, if he tried to be smart, he won't be able to get away with it. He glanced at his cash drawer and realized that currency used back then was different and almost double the size. He ran out because he did not want to go to jail. The day ended after he came out. The next day he went to withdraw his entire savings and got them converted into old money by paying some amount of premium. It cost him much and even worried his psychiatrist friend, but he still went with it. Back then, eggs cost 13 cents a dozen. It was an easygoing life at that time, but unfortunately, he could never find the way to the third level corridor again, despite his hard efforts. His wife Louisa was pretty worried when she got to know about it all. After a while, he went back to find these distractions with the help of his stamps. He moved towards his hobby of stamp collection. Somehow, Sam, the psychiatrist, disappeared out of sight, and Charlie suspected that he must have gone to Galesburg. He finds himself in the time space of 1894. Because many a time he had told Sam that how nice, how peaceful or harmonious place it was. One night Charlie came across a first day cover. What is a first day cover? It is an envelope that stamp collectors mail to themselves on the first day of its sale to mark the date by the post office itself. There are blank papers in it, and so they are not meant to be opened anytime. That night, he found by surprise one of his grandfather's old first day cover in his own collection. Someone had posted it, someone had mailed it to his father at his home at Galesburg, as he saw from the address on the envelope. The postmark showed that it had been there since July 18, 1894. The stamp had a picture of President Garfield on it. It was a 6-cent dull brown color stamp. His grandfather had put it in his stamp collection, and Charlie had now discovered it. The letter talked about how the writer wished his third level story was true until he actually started believing it to be true. He had found the third level and had been there for 2 weeks. He describes the place he was at that time. He asked Charlie and Louisa to never stop searching for the third level and come back. He invites them there. The letter had been signed off as Sam. Charlie found out from the coin store next day that Sam had bought old currency worth $800, which was to be utilized in a hay, feed, and grain or fodder business, which what he always wished to do. He could not go back to his old business, certainly not in this Galesburg, Illinois. The story ends at a mysterious note, and where Charlie is surprising that Sam is psychiatrist. And a very complicated story it is, students. I have taught you each and every word. Now you go through yourself once again, and tomorrow I will send you the notes.